would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks Podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, bowel biologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
This episode of Healthy Home Hacks is brought to you by Nature Pedic. Are you ready to enjoy healthier, non-toxic sleep? Join the organic mattress revolution and rest easier on a certified organic mattress proudly crafted in the USA without petrochemicals, flame retardants, polyurethane foam, and other toxic chemical materials. Visit naturepedic.com and get ready to snooze in the lap of organic luxury. And friends, don't forget to use code Ron and Lisa 15. That's Ron and Lisa 15 to save 15% on new mattresses for the whole family.
What lies behind us and what lies before us are but tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
You may have seen her TEDx talk, How to Use Quantum Physics to Make Your Dreams Your Reality, which has received almost 1.5 million views. Our special guest today is the co-founder and CEO of Ignite and Expand, a transformational coaching company that offers events and programs to help heart-centered entrepreneurs create and scale soulful businesses. Suzanne Adams is a thought leader in the field of personal development and consciousness.
She is taking the mic on NBC, the CW, and Fox, as well as on numerous stages. Suzanne Adams is creating a powerful ripple of inspiration and positivity. Her mission is to help you reach your highest potential. Suzanne is a best-selling author and has impacted thousands through speaking, her books, events, programs across the globe. And she is a thought leader in the field of personal development, leadership, and consciousness. And today is going to help you, our fabulous listeners, manifest your dreams. Welcome to the show, Suzanne.
Whoa, what an entrance. Wow, thank you so much.
We had to go big for you, Suzanne.
We had to go big, Suzanne.
You
earned
did. Thank you.
Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you. I know our listeners are chomping at the bit for this show and they can't wait to hear from you. So I just want to dive right in today. So I have read that the goal of meditation isn't to control your thoughts. It's to stop letting them control you. And I'm sure you'd agree, and anyone who meditates would agree. So Suzanne, how has meditation changed your life personally?
Oh, Lisa, I love this question because I would say meditation is probably the number one tool that has helped me to create my big wild dreams. That it not only to create my big wild dreams, but also to feel good. And we all want to feel good. I know that that's kind of the mission behind what you two do is teaching everyone how to feel good inside of their homes and their bodies, right? Well, meditation is that key. And so I'm actually, May 11th is my 7-year meditation anniversary where I haven't missed one day.
Get out. Okay, I just got a fire lit under my butt because I'm trying so hard to do it every day and I'm spotty. Ron is doing amazing. Not 7 years, but man, I'm so impressed with that. It's cute, by the way. You made me think meditation anniversary because Ron and I are vegan and we just celebrated our 5-year vegan-versary.
Okay, so you get it.
We get it. When you create a habit like that, it should be celebrated, especially when you keep going. So, okay, keep going on. I didn't mean to.
No, of course. Well, it's just the tool that we all have access to. And this is something that when I'm working with clients right away, that's the first thing I ask is, are you meditating? And what they always say is, I don't know how to meditate, or my mind won't get still, or I've tried and it's not working. And we all know how to meditate. And in fact, if you're sitting there going, am I doing this right? The answer is yes.
Yeah, right.
You are, and so it's one of those things where so much of our power is inside of our heart, and we can use our energy to create. But in order to use our energy to create anything that we desire, we've really got to be connected to a feeling of peace and calmness. And meditation will do that for you. I have so many free guided meditations that I love to share because that's how I learned. When I first started to meditate, I had no idea what I was doing. And I just found guided meditations and I would listen to them. And I still find ones that I love and listen to today. And it's one of the things that I start my morning with a meditation, and I usually do it again later in the afternoon. But if I, for whatever reason, if I have a 7 a.m. something and I don't make the meditation in the morning, and then I get busy and going in my day and I forget, 11 o'clock, I start to feel off, a little bit dizzy, and what is wrong with me? And then I'm like, oh, I just need to sit still and be quiet for 10 minutes and really tune into my heart. And so it's a tool that we all have. And yes, it's not to get rid of your thoughts because we're human beings and we have a conscious and a subconscious mind, and there's so many layers. It's a tool to harness your energy and to intentionally be able to create thoughts that are in alignment with what you desire.
Right.
Are you silent when you do this, or do you have like an intention before you meditate as to where you want your heart intelligence to go? What's the process for you?
I always set the intention to feel good. Sometimes there is more to it. Sometimes there's something specific I'm wanting to call in, and I'll amp up that intention to be magnetic, to love, to more abundance, to the certain thing, whatever it is that I want. And then I just let go, because I don't know how many type A people out there that try to control everything. That's me, right?
Two of them right here with you. At least we have 3 so far on this.
Right. So we have to let go and really just honor the process without control. And that's one of probably the first process that I've been able to just really take my hands off the wheel on, is just to lean back and receive. And so it doesn't always look how we think it does. Some people are like, you have to sit up straight. Some people think you have to lay down. I'm just like, do whatever feels comfortable and breathe and fall into the present moment. And there's no way you can mess it up.
Oh, that's really good. Because you're right. I remember when I started, I thought the same thing. And then all your thoughts start going crazy. Oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, I'm drifting. Oh, I'm thinking thoughts I shouldn't. Because I had heard a teacher say, actually, it was Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was, oh, you really need to get in the gap between where it's that empty space. Well, when you're meditating, you're like, I don't think I'm there, because all I'm hearing is my thoughts.
Right.
I couldn't get to this quiet. But I'm sure it's like a muscle, like anything. The more you do it, then pretty soon that probably becomes easy to access. And I have heard, and it's happened to me, laying down is not ideal because you can fall asleep pretty easily. Once you get into that relaxed state, it is easier to fall asleep. Whereas if you're sitting up, you're less likely to. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. However, sometimes, let's say at an afternoon meditation, 4 o'clock comes and my head is spinning. I've been going 90 to nothing all day and I just need a minute. And if I lay down, it's almost my body goes into instant relaxation because I've been doing it so much now. And I can drift into higher states of consciousness when I'm laying down versus sitting. Now, I think it's different for everyone. And sometimes, like especially in the beginning when I was tired, I did want to lay down. And I do think if you fall asleep, then that's what your body needs. And meditation is always a guide to what it is that your body needs anyways.
Yeah, listen to your body. Now, do you have a set time? How long should people meditate? What's a good starting place?
I think even honestly, 3 minutes is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of 4 or a man running multiple companies or whatever it is. If you have so much stuff happening in your life and you just need 3 minutes, because anyone can commit to 3 minutes, right? You set a timer and you do your 3 minutes. And if you're just doing that, you could just say a mantra like peace, peace, peace. And you can say that over and over for 3 minutes and eventually you'll drop in. And then after that gets easy and you crave more, you go to 5 minutes. And then after that, 7 minutes. And then after that, 10 minutes. So I think average 10 to 20 minutes a day is ideal to really reprogram, rewire your mind. But if your excuse is I'm too busy, then first of all, I heard someone say a long time ago, if you're too busy to meditate, are you too busy to feel like crap? And
yeah, so true. And I've said this on the podcast before, stop the glorification of busy, because our society has really embraced the busyness and that multitasking energy. And so getting people to slow down is not something a lot of people were brought up being told that's a good thing. In fact, it's just the opposite. So we have to kind of unlearn that behavior. And like you said, you've got so much time in the day. 24 hours in a day, if you can't carve out 10 minutes for yourself and your well-being, you're not in balance. Something's imbalanced with you, period. So you should be able to find that time.
I feel like
100%.
Lisa's coaching herself right now.
I am coaching the coach. Isn't this neat? Okay. The girl who can't meditate every day. Okay. I guess I'm talking to myself.
I love it.
Suzanne, so what was the inspiration behind your book, Girl Awakened?
Okay. I had a big awakening myself around 2013. And when I look at my life before awakening and after awakening, and my life now is so much more rich and fulfilled than it ever was before. And it's really the main shift in that is a shift in my awareness, a shift in my priorities, and looking at life through mission, purpose. How can I be of service? What can I do to help make the world a better place instead of what have you done for me lately, which was probably the way that I was living before. I was carrying what everyone had thought of me. I always say I spent the first 30 years of my life trying to fit into a box that didn't have my name on it. And that space and place for me wasn't a good spot. I pretended to be happy, right? There were moments of joy. There were moments of happiness. There were moments of connection, but overall I was very unfulfilled. And so about the time around 2013, I had this massive awakening. I mean, massive. And at the beginning of my TEDx, I mentioned I was in this space of depression and in this space of really numbing out with wine. And it took me really getting to this rock bottom space to start to search and look for more. As I was activated and as I started to realize there had to be a better way, and as I was really no longer available for depression and turning to numb out and for just living a life that didn't feel good, I was activated and I started searching for happiness everywhere I could find it. I learned about energy and vibration. I learned about intuition. I learned about divine communication. And I learned about self-love. All of these things that I believe should be taught in kindergarten and elementary school, which is really, really how we would change the world, right? And so as I was activating, I was reading all of these self-help books and I loved them. They were helpful for me, but they were books I would have never picked up in that earlier stage, right? I had to be in enough pain to want to read them to get better. And so I wanted to create a book that your conscious and aware person on path would love, but also just your regular average teenage girl would pick up. And so I wrote a mystical and magical story of a girl having an awakening with all of the tools that I had learned kind of hidden into this adventure. So I like to kind of describe it as Harry Potter meets Eat, Pray, Love.
Ooh, okay. That's an adventure. Nice. I'm trying to picture that.
Yeah. And so the intention is to really open and expand consciousness, but in a fun and magical way. So a story that you read and you're obsessed and you want to learn, but you're also so relating to the character because we all have her inside of us. Even men who I think can relate to this protagonist.
Oh,
and
sure.
so that was the inspiration of really wanting to inspire people to reach a higher potential, but through a fun and magical way.
I love that. Wow. Prior to your awakening, which I think you said was 2013, right? Your big shift. Obviously, I'm sure if you drew a line, these lives look very different.
Yes.
Were you working a corporate job that you hated? What did your life look like?
That's the thing. If you looked from the outside, you would have thought that girl has it all. I mean, really, I had an amazing career. I was a medical device consultant. Was very, very good at my job, consulting with different hospitals and surgeons, the top 2 to 3% of the sales divisions constantly.
Oh, wow.
Because I was using my intuition. I was constantly using my intuition to sell. I would be inside of surgeries and trainings, and I would have all of these ideas that I didn't know where they were coming from, but I just trusted it. It was instinct. And now I know, that was my intuition, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I enjoyed my job very much. But what happened around that time of awakening, I got to a point where this job that had really fulfilled me and that I had thrived in was just all of a sudden not feeling enough. And it was just feeling draining. And it was nothing to do with their career because I do believe it was in alignment until it wasn't, right? And
right. Yeah. Started off good and you changed. You outgrew it, right?
Exactly. Or it served me very well. And it taught me so many skills and tools that I use inside of my business today, right?
Right.
And then when it was not in alignment, it started to feel off. And I wanted to be reading personal development books instead of going to work.
Yeah. You're like, can I get paid to do this, please? And then was the awakening, was it an actual incident or was it more just a gradual, I'm just not feeling good. I'm noticing that I'm kind of going into a depression, or was it like clinical depression?
It wasn't clinical. It was more like a 3 to 4 month stint of literally numbing out with wine every single day. I'd say the pivotal turning moment was the moment, I don't remember the exact date, but it was this moment where I was sitting on the sofa staring at the clock, because what I would do is like, I wanted to drink like at 2:00 just to numb. And I wasn't drinking bottles and bottles of wine. It was 2 to 3, maybe on one day, 4 glasses of wine. And it didn't even seem that weird to me, which is ridiculous, but it didn't. It was just like, oh, I don't feel good, so I'm just going to have a glass of wine to take the edge off. And then I would just have the second glass of wine. And then by the third glass of wine, I was, okay, I don't have to feel anything anymore. And this is acceptable. And there was one day after a couple of months of doing that, but I would wait till 5:00 because in my mind, it wasn't an issue if I waited till after 5:00, right? And so I was sitting on the sofa, just staring at the clock. And it was one of those days I would just sit around the 4:50s and I would be like, okay, it's almost time.
Around the 4:50.
Yeah, I would stare at the clock and I made myself.
The countdown begins.
And it was 4:58, 4:58, 4:58, 4:58.
Yeah, you could have just changed your clock. That would have been easy.
Daylight savings.
Right.
Daylight savings really messed it up. Then you had another hour.
Right. I could go to the what time zone am I really thinking about here? No, but on this one day, it was, I swear, God just froze time for me and made me sit there long enough to start to really feel for a minute. And it was the longest 4:58 and the longest 4:59 I'd ever seen. And I remember just falling to my knees and tears just streaming down my face and me looking up and just saying, show me the way. And I could hear this voice in the pit of my stomach. And it was just telling me, you are meant for more. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for more. And it was like that voice had been there all along for years, but I had just never gotten still or quiet enough to listen to it. And in that instant, it was everything shifted.
Wow.
And so obviously there was a pattern of things and teachers that I had accidentally come across. I always say that the spirit got to me through luxury spas.
Right, the music in the background.
Right. Because I would love to go on these adventures and I would always end up at these holistic wellness spas, but I didn't even know what it was at the time. And so I had stumbled across, and a lot of this is in my book, Girl Awaken. She travels to Sedona and she meets a shamanic astrologer. And that really did happen for me a couple of years before my awakening. And so it was, there had been these seeds planted along the way. And it was once, but I wasn't ready to receive the message and the information. And so it was in that moment of me finally being ready, it was just everything clicked. And at that day, it was done. It was all I needed. And then I got the help that I needed. I found the coaches. I found the mentors. I went to the trainings. I really learned how to align my life with my purpose and my mission. And I really made it a priority to feel good, to feel happy, and to really reach and serve others in any capacity that I can.
Oh, wow. That is really powerful. Did you have any issues with friends or family acting weird about your transformation?
Are you kidding me? What do you think? Of course.
I think so. But tell our listeners what happened.
Oh, gosh. I say I was in the spiritual closet for at least a year. I was like, people are going to think I'm weird if I'm talking about energy or chakras.
Right, because that's a big leap from your cookie cutter life, right?
Of course. And so, yes, it took me, first I had to be really secure in myself and my beliefs before I could share with others. And then walking away from this amazing career that I had built and was working very well for me, that was a whole other thing. I didn't even tell people when I left my job because I'm like, people are going to think I'm nuts so crazy. And so I just had to get really secure in it. And then what happened was the relationship shifted and changed and everyone came around eventually. And there were friendships that shifted and new friendships showed up. And then some people that were friends that kind of fell off, they ended up in my workshops a couple years down the road. And so I love that. Everything comes full circle, but it was not easy. I feel like now is a little different. And also in Southern California now, Georgia is very different too. And so
I would think a lot of traditional religion. I mean, that used to be my territory when I was in sales. I come from an interior design background and fabric textile sales, and I covered Georgia. And so, yeah, it's behind California, maybe in our progressiveness. What? It's peachy.
It is peachy.
It's peachy. Well, I guess we're talking about what parts of Georgia too, right? I was in rural areas and a lot of churches. And so coming out with these spiritual ideologies would be, I mean, I remember going there as a vegetarian and they thought I was nuts. Now, this was years ago, but I couldn't get vegetarian food anywhere. Even cornbread had pork in it, crackling cornbread, they call it in Georgia.
Of course.
What is crackling cornbread? I've never heard of it.
It's certainly more progressive now. And I'd say over the last decade, it's definitely transformed into a more aware place to be and a more health conscious place. But yes, it's definitely a different space. But now that at least where I am, it's very, very interesting just to see the difference in dynamics and the way people grew up with these backgrounds and everything for sure.
Right. We're a melting pot and it's very open-minded to a lot of different things. And by the way, she's sitting in her gorgeous Laguna Beach. Oops. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Laguna Beach home, very close to us actually. And behind her is just this gorgeous picturesque ocean and people walking on the sand. And it is not a virtual background. So we'll have to put up a screenshot.
Spoken in those negative ions, which are positive, by the way.
So if you want to manifest a home like that, keep listening, guys. She's going to tell us more. Okay. So Buddha was asked, what have you gained from meditation? He replied, nothing. However, Buddha said, let me tell you what I lost. Anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, fear of old age, and death. So many people are dealing with these negative emotions today. So Suzanne, how are you helping people to thrive during these really crazy and uncertain times that we're living in?
Okay, first of all, I love that quote or story from Buddha because I agree, except I would say that I've gained peace and connection and hope for more miracles from meditation. And I agree with that. And I think that right now we are living in a time where we really do have unlimited potential. Okay. And the past 12 months has been a very interesting time because we've all been living in a space of unknown and uncertainty. But what is, I believe, is the magic actually happens when you're in the space of the unknown. Because when we're in the predictable future, we're truthfully, and this comes from Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you guys know him or not, but.
And this is how I actually found Suzanne for listeners. She was recommended in our mastermind and I had never heard of her. And I watched her TEDx talk, which I talked about at the top of the show. And I highly recommend, I'll put the link to that in the show notes. So yeah, this is the first time I actually had ever watched his video, was through just a week ago.
It was something that he said that really landed with me was the magic happens in the unknown. And I was, yes. And that's what I've been helping so many people with lately because it's all of our worlds have been shaken in some way, somehow. There is some for the better and many for they're still figuring out and some for the worse, right? Depending on kind of what hand you were dealt, right? And so I've really been helping people to understand that each and every one of us have the power to create our reality with our energy instead of allowing our reality to create our energy. And here's what I mean by that is if you have on toxic news constantly, the media is, I'm sorry, but that's the truth, right? It's just spitting out 100%. Negativity.
Turn that thing off. Yeah.
It's spitting out negativity. If you're in the spiral of the economy is going to tank, no one has the money. That's not really true. Mm-hmm. And so we have a choice that we can tune our energy and we can attune our energy into what we desire, right? And yes, did some of us have to make pivots this year? Yes. Did some of us have unexpected and unfortunate loss? Absolutely, right? However, we all have had our energy and we've all been awakened, including me, to a new level. And what I mean by awakened is going deeper into your heart, having layers be removed, whether you really wanted to or not. Because right as we're clearing out the old trauma and the stories, and we all have them. If you're a human being, if you're breathing and listening, we have stories that from our parents or from a loved one or from a story that someone told us. And so when we really want to get into this open and expanded state, we've got to clear out the cobwebs that we hold in our heart and in our body. And so one of the ways that we do that is to really understand the power that we have in creating with our energy. And so thinking about what we can do to feel good, meditation, laughter, getting outside, putting your feet on nature, right? Being around people. Yes.
Grounding. We did a podcast on grounding with Clint Ober. Go back and listen to that one, guys. It's phenomenal. And it really tells you the importance of not just getting outside, but getting your feet on the ground and getting the earth energy into your body.
I love that. And I completely agree. Go ahead, Ron.
For those simple steps, you're saying our listeners can experience like a quantum leap, completely upgrading their vibration, taking some of the steps you mentioned. Is that exactly what started you in a way?
Yes, it was creating your awareness, right? And again, if you watch my TED Talk, you understand it in like 16 minutes, essentially, but understanding that we all have a frequency and a vibration inside of our body, right? And we are able to attune that energy to anything we want. So we can attune it to the fact that the world is going to end and everything is toxic and all of these things that there has been a sounding bite in the media trying to get us to attune to, or we could really go within and attune to the vision of our heart and our purpose of what anything is possible. And if I have a desire in my heart, it is meant to be mine. And I am meant for abundance, and I am meant to serve in a high capacity, and I am meant to feel good, to be in love, to live a life that is rich and happy, and for all of my dreams to come true. And when you can attune your energy to that, you magnetically have to create it. It has to come to you when you can hold that vibration and hold that energy long enough. So then everyone says, how do I do that? Well, just like you don't go from never walking a day in your life to running a triathlon, you train and you build the muscle. So you start with the meditation. You start with surrounding yourself with people and energy that elevates you, listening to conversations like these, following your own inner guidance system, because it's going to be a little bit different for all of us. But nature, oh my gosh, that's why I love living where
Nature's
I live.
Powerful.
Yes.
Because I think the thing about nature, and we talk about it so much on this podcast, is because it changes your mood instantly. You don't even have to be in nature very long just to take that deep cleansing inhale. And suddenly, I mean, you've got the negative ions, whether you're in the forest or the ocean, no matter where you live, you're going to get the negative ions when you're out in nature. You're getting the oxygen, you're getting the vitamin D from the sun, you're getting that fresh air, you're getting those endorphins. And how can you not feel great? And you don't have to do that for even a very long time. My newsletter that just went out, I gave 30 tips to be healthy right now, little simple things. And that was one of them. Get outside, because a lot of people, especially with the lockdowns, kind of created negative habits of not getting out, right? Because you were stuck at home and then you're like, hey, I can just sit around and eat Cheetos and watch Netflix.
No way.
And have everything delivered, but have everything delivered to the door. I don't have to lift a finger. And the opposite happened with Ron and I, because we used to go to the gym and it forced us to take our workouts outside. But for a lot of people, they just stop working out, right? Now, I don't want to work out at home. It takes a little extra effort. Well, you could always go outside.
100%. And yes, you can feel the shift right away, and especially barefoot in the ground and just breathing in. Even if you just walk outside and touch a plant for a second and breathe in, you will raise your vibration. It's a really powerful tool that anyone can use at any moment in time.
Yeah, I love that. I also was thinking about, I know I keep plugging all these old podcast episodes.
Okay.
Our podcast episode number 29, it's frequency medicine. And it's all about energy healing, which is where everything is going in medicine. So Dr. Anna Blessing was our guest and really talked about the future of medicine is all energy and vibration. And we covered the map of consciousness, which I'm sure you're familiar with, David Hawkins' map of consciousness, which I'm just going to reiterate because for listeners who missed that episode, it literally gives a rating for every emotion on a scale.
The Hertz vibration scale. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it starts at shame. Shame is the lowest energy. And then it goes all the way up to enlightenment, which is the highest. And then every emotion in between. So it's really good just to take a peek at that and get to know that, because it puts in perspective like, wow, I didn't realize what a low vibration guilt and shame, even anger is better than guilt and shame. You're making progress when you're angry, but if you're feeling guilty and shameful, you can't really go any lower. That's the bottom of the barrel, which sounds like you, Suzanne, when you had your breakthrough, were feeling, it sounds like there was some shame, I guess, in there from something.
Oh, so much. And shame is the pandemic on its own. Yeah. Because we have guilt for things that we've done. And as you start to awaken and you start to think about like, oh my gosh, all of the things that I've said that might not have been nice, and the way that I treated myself and the beliefs that I thought about myself. And so you do have to get over, just to really get into the space of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And I love that skill. Actually, I did use it in my TED and I teach with it all the time because
yes, you did have it in your TED, right? Yes, that's right. It's on her.
It shows us that the power of our own beliefs and thoughts, and that we can still honor the fact we're not going to be able to clean up what we did in the past, but we can clean up what we're doing now and the way that we perceive to see it. And even now, we're all human beings. I'm going to have a negative thought here and there. So are you guys.
Yeah, no.
I have never, Suzanne.
Well, I'm not there yet, y'all.
Just kidding. Obviously. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. A guru that I like, a business person said, really good is good enough. Because for the type A's, it's like, no, it's not perfect. No, it's not perfect. Oh, I didn't do that good enough. And a lot of us are so guilty of that. But telling yourself, you know what? I have to surrender right now. I gave my all. Really good is good enough. And I love saying that when you find yourself in that state, because you've got to walk away sometimes if it's whatever it is, whether it's a project or a deadline or anything you're working on. You have to love yourself to say, hey, you know what? Really good is good enough. I did my best. And I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up that it wasn't 100% perfect.
100%. And then also just understanding that we're human beings and we're all going to have different personas and facets of our personalities. And they're not all going to be perfect. The name of the game is just honoring those pieces of you with love and acceptance and then choosing again, essentially.
Yeah. And I love how you brought up fear earlier with the pandemic and everything, because fear is very toxic to the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad to watch people, and especially people you love, in so much fear and really sort of trapped in that. And you're talking about, we are so empowered. We're empowered with our health. We can change our health. We have so much control over our health, way more than people understand, by the foods we eat, by the exercise, by the products, the toxins that we surround ourselves with, the people, the conversations, and the energy, which we're talking about today, the energy and the vibrations that we surround ourselves with. So I hope if you guys take nothing away from this, you stop watching news. That'd be like the one.
Totally. Huge.
Turn it up. You're going to find out if something big happens. You'll find out. You don't need to have it on. Okay. So as we're talking about, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. Buddha. So Suzanne, can you explain to our listeners how you use energy to create the life that you desire, this beautiful home that you're in, and this dream business and this dream job that you have?
Yeah. Again, I think it's first to just understand that it's a never ending journey, right? And when we think we have it all figured out, then usually we're shown that we don't. And so I just want to be clear that
you get a little wake up call from the universe, right? The universe is like, yeah, don't get too cocky.
Of course. Ron giggled, so maybe he's experienced that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to be humble right now.
Yes. So I am still on the journey with each and every one of you guys listening. And I think being aware of your vibration, which is essentially what we've been talking about. So how can you turn up your vibration? I'm always talking about turning up your vibration. And again, that does not mean you spiritual bypass all of your feelings, right? Because I do think it's important. I don't necessarily think we should sit and wade in these lower vibration emotions that we were just talking about: shame, guilt, fear. I'm not saying to sit and wade in that, but I am saying when it comes up for you, give it a voice. Give it a voice for just a second. I imagine this version of me inside of my heart, and I just let her talk for a second. And then I do something to shift my vibration. So if it's turn on music and dance, if it's get outside and go for a jog, if it's sit down and meditate, if it's call a friend that I know is going to make me laugh, or whatever it is. And so I think really, really being aware. I think daily meditation for everyone is a game changer. And if you can commit to that right now, and we're all different, right? Some people bodies, just like you guys are vegan, right? But some people need meat for whatever reason. You may or may not agree with that, but different body types are going to need different things. It's the same with meditation. Go ahead. Do you want to say that?
No, I was just going to say, I'm just discerning right now. I'm trying not to judge. And this is a real challenge.
And also, to be honest, it's also where you are on your journey, because I became a vegetarian at age 17, but I didn't become vegan until 5 years ago. And I'm only 25. No, just kidding. No, but
you've accomplished a lot for such a young age.
So that's a process too. I think your diet and eating healthier is a journey too. Becoming vegan does not happen overnight. I don't care who you are. It might happen, but it's not going to stick. you have to be gentle with yourself through that process too, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah. And just so understanding, I think personally for me, meditation has been a game changer. And if it's not meditation, maybe it's journaling. And then starting to play with your energy. So for example, when you can, I get excited talking about this, when you can vibe with the energy of what you want before you see it, you don't even need it to happen. And when you don't even need it to happen, it shows up. And so I always say attune. I'm always visualizing just me attuning to the energy. In all of my guided meditations, I'm showing people how to tune their energy into this infinite field of unlimited possibilities, right? Because we can start to magnetically draw to us what we desire by embodying that energy. And so here's where most people get stuck. Well, it hasn't shown up. I meditated for 30 days. Nothing's shown up yet.
Cold. Oh God, I'm guilty of that. I've done that. Yeah. Doesn't work.
Right.
Vision board did not work.
And so you have a choice, right? Sometimes miracles are going to happen and you're going to get manifestations in 2 days or 5 days or 10 days, right? Sometimes it might take a couple of months. Sometimes it might take a couple of years, depending on where you are. But the faster you can get your mind and your subconscious mind and your energy, meaning your thoughts and feelings and vibrations that you're constantly emitting regardless, when you can get that into alignment with what you want without it showing up, you will be amazed at the domino effect of things that come.
Can you trick yourself?
Yes, exactly.
You can?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Because I was just doing it this week. I had something that I'm wanting to happen and I was literally just, I don't even need it anymore. And then things will just really start to show up. And okay, the space that right behind me, you talked about the ocean or even the TEDx. And Ron, I really would kind of want that TEDx intro you gave me before we hit record for your audience. So
yeah, we can do a clip.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
Just saying how that excitement, that gets me so fired up. So I'll use those two examples. So the TEDx was something that I wanted for a long time before I got it, right? But I would remember just attuning my energy to standing on that red circle, to sharing a message about energy and vibration that has changed my life. And I wasn't even clear about what the message was going to be, but I just knew that that was a part of my calling. And I just knew if I could attune my energy to that, it would show up for me. And it wasn't easy. It took a hot minute for me to land that, to be completely honest. But once
Are we talking years? Would you say years?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was on my vision board for a couple of years. It was a
Okay.
desire. I was in action, in aligned action with it for a couple of years. Even.
I want listeners to really let that sink in, because I've had manifestations take a couple of years to our first published book. It was a dream and I focused on it and it took a long time. So just like you said, just because something doesn't happen in the time frame that you think it should doesn't mean it isn't coming.
Well, that's where people get off key, right? So I eventually obviously got the TEDx. And then what happened once I got the TEDx was so magnificent because it's reached, like you were saying, it's almost at 1.5 million people now. And that's all organic, right?
Wow. That's great. Yeah.
I mean, I've shared it out with my audience, but I mean, that's a lot of people and a lot of people to really find it. And I've had so many different clients and opportunities show up for me because of that talk. And it was really, I'll attribute it to me aligning my energy with that desire, right? Without it showing up to the point where I just knew that it was going to happen. And I would stand on other stages and be like, well, when I give my first TEDx, right? And it was not really in sight, right? But I was
no contacts with
I was holding that vision. And then if you could see my vision board from Atlanta, from my home in Atlanta, it's basically just windows with ocean. And and it's so cool when I look at it. And so when just for time, I won't go into too much of the story, but basically I was out here. I had a meeting out in San Diego and then 2 weeks later, a meeting in Newport. And I looked at a map and was like, where could I hang out in Southern California that would be cool for a couple of weeks in between my meetings? And I looked at the map and I saw Laguna Beach and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember loving Laguna. And so I ended up arranging my calendar where I would just be in Laguna. And on that first day, I set foot outside and it was like one of those just divine, what do they call it? Meet cute. I don't even know what the right word is, but it was just one of those moments where the ocean was just this brilliant blue and the sun was sparkling down, these beautiful little diamonds on the water. And the ocean breeze was in my face and my hair. And then it was just this knowing, this intuitive divine download of me saying, oh my gosh, I am supposed to live here. And to make a long story short, About 6 months later, I bought a one-way ticket, shipped my car, packed 3 suitcases, and came out here not knowing where I was even going to live.
Oh,
and
wow.
Ended up landing here. And it's just been, there's so many synchronicities. I could go on with the stories, not only for me, but for my clients. And what I want to say to everyone is do not give up before the miracle. Hold the energy, hold the faith. And yes, if you get rocked off because something hasn't shown up, reverberate back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm aware now that I'm having that thought, and let me pull my energy back into center and connect to the infinite possibility of what I want, even without seeing it. Because that's the key, is you keep going and you keep going and you hold the energy and you hold the vision and you hold the vision, you hold the vision. I'm saying this a lot on purpose. And you hold the vision and you hold the vision. And eventually it's right in front of you.
Wow. Yeah, you're like a magnet. It's like Abraham Hicks says, it can be no other way. It's law. It's like a law of gravity.
Yes, it is.
It's like a law. And I've heard this saying, and I love this saying. So when you want something in your life, when you desire something, you get 3 answers, one of 3 answers from the universe. Yes, not right now, or I have something better for you.
100%.
Yeah, right? It never says no. So if you didn't get it when you want it, trust that it's one of those 3. And now I was thinking, when you were telling your story, do you think like somebody who is desiring something just from ego, say, I want this car because I'm going to feel so good about myself. This car is going to make me feel so much better and more worthy. Do you think that is a different kind of attraction? Can you still attract it just as fast? Or do you think it really has to come from that heart-centered place?
No, I think if you attune your energy, you can attract.
You can attract anything. Okay.
Well, I mean, because even though it's coming from ego, there's a place in the heart that wants it too.
Okay.
Is what I believe.
You desire. Okay.
And so it's, do you believe that you're worth it? And it's, there's also, you can shift with matter and you can shift with energy. And a lot of that force and that will, which is how we've created for a long time. You can create with will. It just takes longer and it's harder and it's more energy and it's not as fun. Or you can create with your energy and with your attention. And you know, I mean, when you're in the flow, right? Things are just showing up or you're in the grind. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't push harder, work harder. I know there's a balance in everything in life, right? But I don't know. I'm skirting your question a little bit because there's a piece where our egos are, where our desires are ego driven, and there's a piece where they're really heart centered. And I think that sometimes there's also a mesh. And I think that if you really desire a fancy sports car, go get it. Maybe what happens is you get it and you're like, this isn't what I wanted. And then it puts you on a different path and a journey to what your heart really is calling you for. So maybe that's the path that you needed to really wake up.
Oh, that's a great point.
Because the most important tip our listeners can have right now is just to be in alignment and hold that energy for that. So that's the number one thing.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, it really struck me too when you said too, just that desire of you control it and you focus on it, but you don't want to want it. Because it keeps you in the wanting stage too, right? You kind of alluded to that earlier, right? That's the balance of that. Okay.
Yeah. And I like when you talked about the feel like you already have it and then how you get to that state. Because I've had that happen many times where you just, gosh, I just experienced it. Like, do I really need it anymore? And then it almost is energetically, it takes off the clenching, the like needing, right? It's like a needy girl chasing a guy or vice versa or whatever, someone needing, then it repels the other person. Like, oh, back off. You're being clingy, right? So clinging and needing something is a different energy than, gosh, I feel like I already have it. Wow. I'm happy. Like I said this on the other podcast, I'm happy no matter what, right? I'm happy no matter what. I mean, I don't need it. I'd love it. It would be joyful. It'd be fun to have. I would love that experience, but I don't need it. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I want to just add, if you can just feel the energy of it before you have it. And Ron said not wanting it. So I just want to, you can want it without that energy because you're already connected to it. So it's the knowing is tricky, right? And this is where it gets hard because you're like, what is it?
I want it now.
Sometimes, right? I'm attuned. I can attune. Like we all have
I can't get any more tuned. Right.
So if you get in that energy, and it's a process of practice and holding the vibration and just knowing there is this potential for me. I am connected to it, even though it's not looking like it, even though it feels impossible, even though no one else believes it but me. I am attuned to that energy. And it's okay. It's okay that it's not here right now because you know what? I'm feeling good. And when I'm feeling good, I know that things flow to me and I'm just in that energy and that state of attuning to what I want. And when I'm in that energy and that state, There is always a way. The path will always be shown to me. And when I can just hold on to that, everything will flow.
Oh, wow. And you're 8 years living proof of this. So is there ever a time where you say, it's just not working, or maybe this isn't meant for me, or I'm feeling an energy that maybe I should shift my desire to something else?
Well, didn't you just hear me scream? Where is it?
Okay, but in that you don't give up on it. You don't give up on it.
No. Okay. So yes, I will come to those boiling points too. Okay. Remember, I said we're all on this journey, right?
I didn't know. I honestly sometimes is the universe telling you, maybe that's just not meant for you, or
no,
right for you.
I think there's usually a layer of, I'm a big believer in what is my part in this? What do I need to do to release whatever resistance I have in the way of this, right? And so you said it earlier, is it a redirect? It's a redirect of maybe sometimes you just need to take your focus off, like exactly what you're talking about when you're like, this has to work, that's not the energy that's going to work, right? So put your focus off of that and then really get into the space and place of what feels good. And then you do the inner work. The inner healing is, what is the subconscious programming that's happening here that is potentially keeping this away from me? What is my part? What do I need to change differently? Right? And when you cannot anchor to it energetically, you can feel it. You can feel it. I'm getting really good at it now. And I'm like, okay, I don't even need the proof because I am so anchored to this desire. It is here. And you feel that. And when you can feel that, it's powerful, right? And so when you're not on that track, you also are kind of aware, okay, so where's the belief? What's the belief? What's the story that I'm attuning my energy to that is not in alignment with this big wild dream, or that is not in alignment with
what part am I playing in this? Instead of giving your power away to, I know when I grew up, everything was, well, I guess that's the way the universe wants it, or that wasn't meant to be, it's kind of that mindset. I had to really delve into all of those books too, and really understand how energy works. And it's a process, actually. Now, last question. So you want something, okay, listener, you're dreaming of your dream home. Okay, you want your dream home. Can you tap into that feeling of having it here now and then let it go? And then as long as you're keeping your vibe high, it can still attract it? Or is this something you need to focus on every day?
I think it's different for every human, right? So if you can attune to that energy and let it go and keep your vibe high and open, but you set that intention, that can work. If focusing on it every day is going to create more resistance because you haven't actually got it. It just depends on the person. Some people can get really excited when they're starting to really just connect and release. And so I think it depends on the person and where you are in the process. And I don't think that's a one size fits all either.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I have always wondered that. So I'm sure listeners have too.
Hey, Suzanne, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I know our listeners had so many ahas, light bulb moments, gained nuggets of wisdom to change their life for the better, actually starting today.
And remember, friends, the more man meditates upon good thoughts, the better will be his world and the world at large. Confucius. If you enjoyed today's show, head to ronandlisa.com/podcast for all of the show notes and links that we discussed today, including those fabulous 6 free meditations. To learn more about Suzanne's coaching and programs for success, visit her at Suzanne, that's 2 N's, SuzanneAdamsInc.com. And you can find her on Instagram at Suzanne with 2 N's, Suzanne Adams Inc. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.